Hey, what's up?
Hi,
How you doing?
I'm doing super good.
Good. Glad to hear it. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to it. Love the
Yeah,
background. You got the Mirage 2s back there.
yep. This is the Mirage 2, and then that's the Mirage 3.
Nice. I love it. How's the
Yeah,
fall going?
it's going good. We're having a tournament this weekend, and we had one not this weekend, but last weekend.
Where's the tournament this weekend?
This weekend it's at Annapolis. It's the Inside Lacrosse tournament or cup.
Uh,
Um,
nice.
yeah, so that'll be good. But thanks again for coming on. It's super cool having an ECD guy come on.
Yeah, definitely. I'm pumped. Congrats on starting the podcast up. It's really cool.
Thank you. Well, I'll introduce you and we can get into it.
Sure.
All right. Today in the Lax Locker Room, we've got the legend behind one of the biggest names in lacrosse gear, Greg Kenneally, the founder of ECD Lacrosse. He went from stringing sticks in his college dorm to creating one of the most popular brands in the game. We're talking innovation, hard work, and a backyard idea turned into a lacrosse empire. Let's get into it with ECD Greg. Thank you
Well,
again.
yeah, what a great intro. Thanks for having me
Thank
on.
you. Yeah, no problem. To start off, can you tell us where you are from and what your lacrosse path was like?
Yeah, so I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland. I was born in 1989, so probably a lot older than I've been definitely alive for probably twice as long as you.
Yeah,
And My dad was a lacrosse coach. He played a little bit when he was younger, but when my brother and I were about five, Mike is my co-founder and twin brother. He
right,
got us some sticks, and we started playing a little bit. He coached us all the way up through middle school. Back then, there wasn't really club lacrosse; it was more rec. So we played for
right,
Cockeysville Rec Club around us, which was free. That's where a lot of the best players played. Then we went to school at Little Blakefield, a private school in Baltimore, and we were ranked number one our senior year, which was cool. We won the championship in the MIAA. And then Mike and I both went and played Division III at Elizabethtown College together, and met a bunch of people who work here. Brian, Ben, another Brian. So we met a lot of our future employees and partners while we were there in college. That was I graduated in 2011. So after
right.
that, went and got my master's degree at Towson, but didn't play there at all.
Yep.
So that was kind of the end of my collegiate playing career.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. Did you like having your dad coach you just throughout your starting days of lacrosse?
It was nice. I think I didn't think a lot about it back then, but
Yeah.
looking back at it now I'm a dad. I have four kids. One of them is a 7-year-old Logan, and he's playing lacrosse. I'm coaching his team, so you kind of figure they're going to be there anyway. You got to go to all the practices. You might as well coach, and it's a lot of fun to coach your kid, and it's very rewarding to coach young players. So
Right.
I didn't think a lot about it back then, but my dad was busy. He worked a lot. He was an accountant. And so during lacrosse practice, during playing lacrosse in the backyard, that's when we spent a lot of time together. So it
Yeah.
was nice that
So
he was out there coaching. We could spend that extra time together when he was busy.
right, especially the extra time to bond with your dad. That's super cool.
Yeah.
Um, did your dad play lacrosse?
He played a little bit. He went to junior college, and I think he played a little bit there.
Right.
And then that was about it. Just wasn't nearly as popular then.
Yeah, 100%. What position did you play?
I played attack pretty much my whole life. And then in college, I played 2 years attack, 2 years midfield.
What do you like better, attack or midfield?
I don't know. I didn't love midfield. Just not
Yeah,
very good at defense. So there was always like pressure to get back and play
that same as
defense.
me.
It was nice to dodge on short poles from time to time, but I was better at playing attack. I probably liked attack more.
Me too. I'm a lefty attack, and I definitely can't play defense. It's one thing that I've learned, like just through middle school, and so definitely not midfield. But I
Yeah,
am
I was a
open.
liability on the defensive end.
Right. Who are some of your biggest mentors or role models when you were growing up?
I think business wise, my dad was definitely a mentor. He started his own business when my brother and I were born, and is still running that business today. So it's an accounting firm. So he has a lot of experience with his business, but additionally, helping people run the finances of their business as well. So you get a really well-rounded education on just what makes a business run. So from early on, my brother and I were in his office working, shredding
Right.
paper. And so that was really great for us to learn hands-on and see what it took to start your own business.
Yeah.
Like my playing idols were Mike Powell, Mark Millen, Tom Marichek, some of the guys from like the previous era. So
Right.
now it's cool. I get to work with Mark Millen. I
Yeah.
get to work with both of his sons. So it's kind of come full circle. And I've gotten to meet Casey Powell and hang out with him a ton. So like through starting the business, I've got to hang out. Even got to play 3v3 with Casey Powell out on our turf. So came
That's
full circle
awesome.
with a lot of my childhood icons.
Yeah, that's awesome, especially a lot of connections that are big names. You know, Brendan Millen and McKay Millen; those are definitely big names. I went to their camp at Goucher College,
Oh
and
yeah, that's like right down the street from our office.
yeah, and that was super fun. You know, just the whole camp. It felt like we were in college. You know, because we'd wake up at like 6:30, have breakfast, and then go to practice until like 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah, you get that
So,
like full day experience. Yeah, I
yeah,
think those are the kinds of guys that your generation, a little younger, will look up to, like I did now that they're in college, and will follow their college career when they're in middle school and be the people that they look to as role models. So it's pretty cool.
yeah, 100%. How did you decide on Elizabethtown College?
Well, back then there wasn't much internet. There was definitely no social media, so
Yeah,
it was much more difficult to learn about all your different options for school. So my brother and I kind of just went off of what coaches reached out to us to play, and then looked at those schools. You know, we weren't. It was hard to learn about all these small Division 3 or Division 2 schools that
yeah,
were places. You know, so we basically like some coaches would get in touch with us. They said they were interested in us coming to play, and we would go do visits and see what we liked. So we did a visit up at E-Town. It's a very small school. It was the right distance away from home for us. It was
yeah.
like an hour and 15 minutes, so not that far for our parents to come. We liked the idea of going together, playing on the same team together. My parents could go to all the same games, so just all kind of worked out.
Yeah, especially it's like a gadget, you know, everything kind of fit in place, ran smoothly.
I
Um,
mean, there was like, you think about how kids get recruited now. There was barely email. There was no recruiting tape to
yeah,
send someone. Like some people would literally mail DVDs to coaches
wow.
and
Just
and
the
send
bare
letters. It
highlights and
was
stuff.
much different. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, that's a whole lot different than like what coaches, like high school coaches will tell you now.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
what made you switch gears and go to Towson for your master's?
So I graduated with my degree in accounting, and so to become a CPA, a certified public accountant, you need to have 150 credits. When you graduate college with 130, so I basically needed to go to a master's program to be able to sit for the CPA exam. So Towson was local. Both of
Yeah,
my parents went to Towson, so we applied to their joint program with um, University of Baltimore. Got in. It's the only place I applied, I think, and
yeah, that's
so took like 18 months of night classes there, and it wasn't
yeah,
too bad. You know, it's all right. Didn't get to
yeah.
play. I think looking back on it again, if there had been more like information out there on the internet, I probably
Mhm.
would have played for their club team, but I didn't even know that existed. So
Yeah, it's definitely a whole different world to nowadays. Nowadays, you can look up Towson on the internet and get a quick answer. And
yeah, it's a little tougher then.
what was the toughest part about playing college at the college level?
You know, it's easy to glorify it looking back on it because I miss it a lot. But when you really get
Right.
down to like the nitty gritty every day going out there when it's freezing cold or pouring rain, you know, those were the toughest days. We didn't really have too intensive of a schedule. We didn't have like a crazy lifting schedule
Yep.
or crazy out of season practices. Ours was pretty light. So, like, for us, it was a good life balance. So, it really wasn't that, there wasn't
Big
anything,
of a
no parts of it
deal.
I hated, you
Yeah.
know.
What was your favorite day to practice on? Did you like the rain or like practicing
Definitely,
rain?
definitely didn't like the rain. I always, my favorite days were like kind of this weather in the fall when you would
Yeah.
go out, or the first day in the spring, you'd go out and the sun was out and it was like in the mid 60s. It finally felt like it was warm, like you could run fast, you felt quick, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Some of those
60s,
days going out,
70s.
yeah, February, like my hair would be frozen, you know. You
That's
don't feel
awesome.
very fast in full sweats.
No, especially I went to UVA practice and the whole everything was covered in snow and they were still practicing. It's just like it's a whole nother level.
No,
Um,
we'd get the call. We had to go shovel the field, so we go shovel the field for 2 hours and then practice on it.
yeah, that's awesome.
We're not fun.
Um, what do you think helped you stand out in college lacrosse?
You know, I probably wasn't the best player. I was a hard worker though. As an
Yeah,
attackman, I got a lot of ground balls. I got a lot of calls, turnovers. I rode hard. So probably like the between the line stuff. I didn't have like shocking stats. I had
Mm,
goals, this, but probably more the between the lines, ground balls, extra
yeah,
effort
your
plays.
work ethic.
Yeah.
Right. What was the hardest team you faced when you were playing at Elizabethtown College?
We would play a couple good teams every year and just get crushed. Washington College, Denison, who back then were higher ranked, these days not so
Yeah.
much anymore. We would always schedule one or two hard out of conference games, F&M, and they would beat us up pretty good. But that's kind of the point, you know. You
Yeah.
need to schedule a little bit higher than your talent level just to have something to strive for.
Yeah, especially I feel like the games you get smoked and then coming back to practice, I feel like you always get a lot better on those types of days. Like for
Yeah,
us,
you need a little humbleness.
yeah, yeah, because you don't want to just go out in the tournament and crush everyone and then just come back to practice feeling like you did a good job because well, winning a tournament is great, but like I feel like if you're playing a bunch of easy teams, you're not really getting any better.
No, no, definitely.
Um, when did you realize you were the stick doctor on your team?
I didn't string a lot for other people in high school, mostly just myself and my brother. But then being at college, when all these players were away from whoever would normally string their stick at home, they needed somebody to do it. And so that's when I really got more into the forums, learning about the different techniques on how to string, and
Yep.
then realizing, yeah, there was a need for other people to have me string their sticks. So
Right.
it wasn't the whole team, but it was definitely a lot of them started to, as we
Needed
went on.
person to string their stick.
Yeah,
Um,
when you're away at college, you're stuck with each other. There's nobody else, you don't have
yeah.
anybody to do it.
What made you love stringing and customizing sticks so much?
I don't know. I think it was just an interesting hobby to get really into when I was
Yeah.
young. I used to like flip through all the magazines. I would buy sticks and tinker with them. Some of it was performance based. Like I didn't think the pockets they came with were that great. And some of it was just a hobby. Like it was just cool to see all the different back then there was more interesting stuff, right? They were doing rocket pockets, pita pockets,
Yep.
perfect pockets. Like people were experimenting. Now it's pretty much just all mesh. But back then there was still some leather being involved, which made
Yep.
it much more interesting as just something to tinker with.
Was it harder to string the leather than the actual mesh?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. I never really quite got the leather pockets down. I never
Yeah.
played with one. My first stick was traditional because it was really before they had mesh. But
Right.
after that, all my playing sticks were mesh.
Um, Tell us a little about that moment in college when you thought like you're gonna make your own mesh.
Well, I never had the mesh in college. So in college, it was more or less just for fun. I was doing some dyes,
Yeah.
and I had actually gotten a deal with Inside Lacrosse to write a bunch of articles for their gear section on dyeing. And so I was doing them in my dorm room in like this little
Yeah.
trash can. And I was still buying all my materials from Jim Lax or Stringer Shack and stringing others. So after that senior year of college, when I got back home, I was still continuing the service part of it. People would drop the heads off at my house. I'd restring them with whatever mesh and send them back. And that's when I started to think maybe I should try and make my own mesh that I could string the sticks with in the
Yeah.
basement there.
Also seems a little bit more efficient, just having the mesh on you and definitely faster production for sure.
Yeah, faster
Um,
production, make it more unique.
yeah. Um, what was your first version of East Coast mesh like? And how does it compare to the mesh you sell now?
The formula for East Coast mesh was very similar the whole way through. It didn't change a ton. What changed a lot was the method of application. And so initially, I just had a crock pot. I heated it up and would like dunk the mesh in, then
That's
try and flatten
awesome.
it. So over time, we got much better at making the mesh. It was still pretty like rudimentary. There was no big machine making it.
Yeah.
It was still they were all handmade. And at one point, we were making 1,000, 1,500 pieces a day, hand dipping them all. So the process got much better, which made the product better. It was less flaky. The
Yeah.
waxes were well, but the formula was the same from the beginning. Um, and so now, there were flaws with the wax mesh. It would get sticky and soft when it was hot. It would get firm when it was cold. It would get really dirty, pick up a lot of dirt. So we moved more towards weatherproof materials, high end weatherproof coatings, non wax based
Yeah.
that just hold up better for longer.
Right. Did you have to experiment a lot with the different types of meshes that y'all make?
Initially, for the wax mesh, we ended up making a base that worked better, right? The right thickness, the right
Yeah.
diamond size. When you dip it in the hot wax, the mesh shrinks. So you got to first weave the diamonds a little bit bigger. And so then when we started making the Hero line, yeah, we had tons of samples, like 20 or 30 for the first round, and it probably takes
Wow.
20 or 30 samples, hero 2, hero 3, hero 4, etc.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's actually a super cool process. I'm gonna have to try that out. Um,
It's
how
fun.
how many failed batches did it take you before you finally got the mesh right?
Well, the formula was kind of like right there, one and done, but the process took years.
Yeah,
We were still changing and dialing the process in even when we stopped making it in 2014, so it took 4 or
yeah.
5 years to get right.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense because you want to make the mesh like as most efficient as you can, and mesh usually lasts me like a season before it gets a hole in it, but I can just tell from like the Hero 3 to the Hero 4 is just a whole nother level. So I really like the mesh that y'all do.
Yeah, that was a big effort between Hero 4 trying to make it last as long as possible, make it not bag out, make it not get soft quickly, make it not rip. So that was a big focus for that one.
Is that a formula to make all those tiny details, or is it just like a process for everything?
For the actual mesh itself, there's
Yeah,
a combination of yarns, twisting, texturizing the yarns, the thickness, denier is what they call it in yarns, which is it's a measure of weight. But basically how thick the different strands are. So we have three different materials now that we texture
right,
and twist together. And then there's the coating. The coating is mostly now for feel, right? Getting like the stiffness
right.
right, the break-in right, and then it does have some weatherproofing element as well.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like a long practice process, but it definitely seems like if I tried to do that, it would probably take me a few hours before I got like one mesh like even close to being right.
Yeah,
Um,
it's right. It's much. Yeah, you can definitely make wax mesh at home, but this kind of
yeah.
hard to make at home.
So kind of switching gears, how did ECD officially get started?
Yeah, I was running the business over the summer in the house we were living in, making some mesh in the basement, selling on our website. But I was still taking the master's classes and was working toward passing the CPA exam. And so I did eventually pass the exam, finish with my master's. But then it
Yeah,
became kind of clear that we could try and take the business full time, my brother and I. So that happened in 2013, probably. We were
yeah.
still working out of the house, but had made making the mesh, shipping it, string kits our full time job.
What were those early basement days like?
They were just making mesh, man.
Yeah.
Just wax,
Did you ever
guns.
right. Did you ever get like tired of making mesh, or were you just like, this is what I want to do. I want to just do this for the rest of my career?
Yeah, I didn't love making the mesh. Mike probably was better at it and made more than I did. I was
Yeah,
definitely more interested in the stringing part of it, but for a very many years in the beginning, we spent most of our day just literally making the mesh. And then as
yeah,
time went on, I would spend a little more of my day taking pictures, running social media. But early on, we were just making the mesh and shipping it. That was pretty much it.
yeah. That's cool. What were your goals? What were your first initial goals when you were starting out ECD?
We didn't really have any goals. It just moved so slowly. We never wrote a business plan. We just were
Kind of,
rolling and just decided to start doing it full time. And for a long time, it was just head down. Goal was just to make as much mesh as we needed. One of the bigger goals early was to get it in stores. So we started in
right.
2013, 14, getting in touch with some retail stores and getting on shelves, which was big for the brand.
Yeah. So what type of stores has ECD put heads in? Like I know Dick's Sporting Goods, Lacoste Unlimited. Um, is there any others?
Yeah, the big chains are Dick's Sporting Goods. So we're in 500 Dick's Sporting Goods.
Yeah,
Lacrosse Unlimited carries all of our stuff. They're up to 50 something stores, 60 something
yeah,
stores. So they're the biggest national specialty chain. Then
right.
there's Universal, which has like 14 stores, Lacrosse Monkey, which has a handful of
Oh,
stores.
yeah.
And then past that, there's probably 100 individual, we call them mom and pop, but individually owned lacrosse stores.
Okay. Right. So like people that just want to like pop up a stand at a tournament and just sell some heads.
A lot of these are legit stores, like just like a Lacrosse Unlimited,
Oh,
just
just
individually owned.
that's awesome.
There's probably
Um,
there's 100 of those or more.
yeah. What's the most challenging part of it? about designing new heads or shafts?
Well, for the heads, it's a big learning process. It's not quite as easy as it would seem.
Yeah,
Tons of issues you can run into with molding, where they're not durable enough. You learn a lot about plastics engineering. So now we're lucky with 3D printing. We can get a lot of looks at the head before we actually make it.
right.
So we get pretty close, and it can help minimize mistakes. But there's still been plenty. You have to have constant quality control to make sure one run from the heads is good and none get through that aren't up to your durability standards. So that's constantly a stress point.
Right. And when you're making heads, do you have to like look at a sheet of rules that tell you what you can and can't do? Because like I know the NCAA has taken off like a bunch of things that heads can have and heads can't.
Yeah, they've been changing the rules. So, I mean, I can't show you. When I was in college, they made the 2010 rule, which was that heads had to be 3 inches, 3 inches, 3 inches.
Yeah.
Um, and then they did the shooting string rule. So, yeah, there's basically a set of dimensions about the offset, the width, the height, um,
Right.
and then the shooting strings. Those are the basic ones. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've got
Does it change positionally? Like different rules for each position?
the rules don't. The rules are all the same except for
Yeah,
goalie, no matter what position you're going for.
that makes sense. Um, what's your all-time favorite ECD product?
Products. I probably like the Carbon Pro 3 Speed the most. Well, I
Yeah.
have one, but it's definitely my favorite shaft we've ever made. I like the Ion, but I've just all my sticks for the past couple years have all had Carbon Pro 3 Speeds on them.
Yeah, that's awesome. How do you and your brother Mike divide up the responsibilities of ECD?
He mostly focuses on finance and operations, day to
Right.
day warehouse, and then I focus on product and marketing. So it
So
makes for a
you,
good.
yeah, that's definitely a good split. I feel like that's actually pretty even. You do like a bunch of the social media type stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Um, have you ever thought about doing a custom ECD helmet?
Yeah, we could do a helmet. Cascade obviously owns a lot of the market share there.
Yeah.
Helmets aren't that interesting to me. I think that I'd be much more likely to do some other things like gloves or cleats before we did a
R-
helmet.
Right. So kind of going back, have you and your brother Mike like ever butt heads on ideas?
Nothing big, I don't think.
You don't
We've
think
been
so?
pretty go with the flow. I mean, certainly there's been some arguments about things but as I'm looking back, none stand out, so it must not have been that big of a
Yeah,
deal.
so that means y'all are a good team together.
I think so.
What gear sells out the fastest?
Well, the 4th of July stuff sells quickly. We
Yep, like
sell
the bomber shaft.
Yeah, that was our fastest sellout, definitely our
Yeah.
highest demand. So we sell between 500 and 1,000 of those out in like 10 minutes every 4th of July.
Yeah.
And the rest of it, most stuff usually doesn't sell out. I mean, the heads fly off the shelf pretty good at release day, but we make plenty
Yeah.
of those ahead of time. So pretty much the LE stuff is the only stuff that sells out quickly.
Right, yeah, because I was me and my dad were counting down at like on the 4th of July when y'all were about to release everything. And we were just waiting and we were just like looking at the Across Unlimited store and everything had sold out in like 10 minutes. Like all the bomber shafts were gone and so yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, it goes quick.
Um how important is player feedback when it comes to developing new products?
So I do a lot of the player feedback. It's really important once you get into like threes and fours because you're looking for like from Mirage 2 to Mirage 3, you're looking for
Yeah.
very small things to tweak since the product is already pretty good and it's established. I think for some of the other stuff, um, player feedback is tough. So I go back to this quote that says like back in the day, if you would ask people what they wanted, they would have told you faster horses instead of
Right.
cars. Some players and consumers just aren't able to imagine a big jump in technology. So, like people weren't asking us for the Ion. That was something that we had developed the idea for on our own and brought
Yeah.
to the market and was kind of unexpected. And I think those are usually the biggest impactful releases where the little derivative improvements in quality are relatively easy to get.
Right. Because I know one difference between the Mirages is like I think the Mirage 3 is what, 10% stiffer than the Mirage 2.
Yeah,
Um,
but that's it's a small improvement.
yeah, it's
It's a
smaller.
tweak. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, If you could do a dream collab with any brand or sport, who would it be?
Any brand or sport? I don't know. That's a good question. I've never really done a big collab with Mitchell Pelkey. I actually have the USA Lacrosse magazine he's on the cover of, so
Yeah, that's
I
awesome.
think that would be really cool. He's an STX guy, unfortunately, but
Yep.
at least in lacrosse, that would be one I'd like to do.
Yeah,
Duke
Mitchell
Perfect would be
Phelps.
fun. They could use to do a second lacrosse video.
Yeah, I remember they have one like with Paul Rabel just doing a
Very
bunch
long
of
time
trick.
ago.
Yeah, that was when he had the flow, the long hair.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what.
Um, how does ECD keep pushing innovation in such a competitive market?
Well, we have our innovation meetings every Friday, where
Right.
about 15 employees get to allocate around 10% of their time to projects they're excited about. So a
Mhm.
lot of our projects have come out of that process. Every Friday we meet for an hour, people pitch their ideas, give updates, and it lets a really big group from the company come up with ideas. So a lot of times our best ideas come from that process.
That's super cool. So y'all just get together and talk about like random ideas that could come into play and make a big difference.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
hmm
Um, what advice would you give to a kid with a cool idea who wants to turn it into a real business like you did, you and Mike did?
Yeah, I mean, the way we did it was called bootstrapping, like didn't invest a lot of money, did it on the side. The best time to do it is when you have a job that's paying the bills or you don't have any obligations. There's no risk you're going to like lose your house. You have a family you need to provide for. So when you're
Right.
young is the best time to do it. I think it's the easiest time to start a business, which is both good and bad. So now with social media, you can prop something up very quickly and start to get some eyeballs on it. If it's a cool idea,
Right.
the other downside to that is it's very crowded. There are tons of lacrosse businesses, and that's across pretty much every industry because the barriers to start a business are so much lower. Many more people are doing it. It makes it very, very crowded. So it's competitive. So you have to
Yep.
have an idea that's pretty unique so that it stands out rather than gets lost
Yeah.
in all the noise.
So like in the lacrosse world, are other businesses like super competitive? Like is SDX always doing stuff that y'all try and do? Or is it like a friendly but competitive business or no?
I would say it's extremely competitive. There's
Yeah.
a lot of brands right now that make heads: String King, Maverick, STX, Warrior. Then the list goes on with all these new ones that have started. So there's not the sport's not really growing like it was. So there's the same
Yeah.
amount of people and many more brands competing for their business. So it's really competitive. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, so this is like a fan question from my dad. Um, is there any chance that we'll see another Chrome Gold Mirage or like the Chrome Mirages?
Yeah, I think Lacrosse Unlimited does a lot of the chroming, so they'll
Yeah,
probably do our newer releases in Chrome. I would think.
yeah.
I've always
Oh,
liked the Chrome. I just don't. I'm not a huge fan of the chipping. But
yeah,
people deal with that on cleats. The helmets chip, so it does
yeah.
look cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think I bought the Chrome head like I think it was 2 years ago. I
hmm
bought it when I was leaving a box tournament at Lacrosse Unlimited. I think it was like in Delaware, and we saw it and we were like, we need to get it. So I was like super pumped when I got it because great head. I love it. Um, where do you see ECD in 5 years from now?
Well, a big thing we're working on right now is removing our headquarters. We have a building we bought, so over the next 18 months, that's going to be one of the only things we're focused on. We have some really cool products in the pipeline that'll come out in the next 18 months. But the move is the biggest thing for us. We want to get
Yeah,
a really great space built out. We want to get as many people in for tours as possible to show it off.
yeah.
So that's really where our focus is at the moment.
How do y'all handle the ECD tours? Like, do you just put it up on your website and people can come visit?
Yeah, you can actually schedule a tour on our website. We're the only lacrosse company that does a tour. And I think it's
Yeah,
really cool for players to come in and see where the comes from, what a lacrosse company looks like, learn about how the heads are made, learn about how the mesh is made, see
yeah,
them get strung. It's a really cool thing that people can come do here.
yeah. My friend went and he said he got to like shoot where y'all do all the shooting on that
Yeah, you
cage
go on the
on the turf.
turf. We
Yeah,
got a claw machine. It's a fun time.
yeah, that's awesome. Um, and then I have one more question. It's not lacrosse related, but what's your go-to karaoke song?
Oh God, I haven't sung karaoke in forever. I'm trying to think of what even the last one I would have done is. I think we did "Bye Bye Bye" by NSYNC.
Right.
It was like 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome. Well, I really appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much. It's super cool talking with ECDI, and um, I'm sure we'll talk later at some point.
for sure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
I
no
really appreciate the
problem.
opportunity.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see what else you'll come out with, and great and good luck in the future for sure.
Nice, man. You too.
Yeah.